Welcome to The First Turn. I'm your host, Hyena, and today, Llama and I are talking about This Week in Warhammer. If you like what you hear, give us a like, comment, subscribe, or share, or let us know if there's something you'd like to hear us talk about. Alright, let's get to it.
Welcome to The First Turn. I'm Hyena.
I'm Llama.
And today we got a week of minor stuff. We're kind of building up towards Nova next weekend, which will be exciting. We were kind of alluding to the fact that that's happening. There'll be an event, and there'll be a preview, and there'll be lots of stuff to see. And someone here is going to it, so we'll get some hands-on, first-person, perspective on the event, which is really cool. Because usually when we get these like new events, we kind of stick to a couple, and we don't get to go to the extra ones. And so it's really exciting to be able to see one of these in person, which might be a regular thing going forward. I don't know.
Could be.
But yeah, we're really excited about that. And this week we've had, it's been a little quiet, a little slow, but we've got some
release front.
Some things are coming out though. Yeah. So we've finally gotten some pre-orders for some stuff we've been waiting for, and more in the works coming. So we had some of the old world stuff finally coming out on its own. We had Yao Ming.
Mm-hmm.
Is that her name? Meow Ying. It's Meow.
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure her name is Meow. Like a cat.
That'll just be her nickname.
Yeah. So the big dragon kind of centerpiece model with the alternate wizard on foot kind of thing floating. So is it on foot?
She's kind of
very
graceful.
But that model is finally coming out, as well as some of the cavalry and the Eternal Guard or whatever they're called on their own.
I have to give them credit for the way they've handled fantasy this go round, in that if any of you remember Warhammer Fantasy now, more than 10 years ago it died, when you had to buy infantry, let's say, to make a block of something equivalent to Eternal Guard, so your sword and board infantry usually came in like a box of 10, and you have to buy 2, 3, 4 of them to make up your brick. They don't do that now. These new ones now come out, or the ones that are repackaged, and it's like, no, we're throwing 20 in the box.
Now, to be fair, it is like 5 models 4 times. Like I got the Foot Squire, the Foot Knight,
Bretonnian
unit for Bretonnia, and I'm pretty sure it was 4 of the same sprue, but it was made 5 guys each. And it was packed with loads of extra bits and arms and stuff.
Them a little different.
But it was still like designed in such a way that you had you could stretch those 5 models very far. I assume that's what's going to be happening here. So they're all kind of less dynamic, so you can line them up in ranks. But I mean, in terms of like cost, it's actually really good. I mean, I was thinking about getting the box of the 10 cavalry and painting them up and converting them for Cities of Sigmar, because it's 10 cavalry for like $85.
Oh wow!
Which is like 40% less than the 5 you get for Cavaliers from the cities.
And they probably needed to. I remember for years when Bell of Lost Souls would do the reviews of they do the reviews of which miniatures games were the most expensive or whatever, and it would fluctuate when you're talking about 2 through 10. But number 1 every time was Warhammer Fantasy, and it was because it was every unit you have to buy 4 to 6 boxes to fill it. And then every character and every war machine and everything was metal. Mm-hmm. And so it was a ridiculously expensive game. This, always expensive. This is much better. You're getting new plastics. Yep. And they're packing 20 of them or 10 of them or whatever in a box.
It didn't feel good with the Tomb Kings when they repackaged those old models into
old models for that price.
Into 20 men blocks, and they were $85 because it was nothing new but packaging. That was a little rough. But I mean, like the cannon and stuff from it, I might get one of those. I might get, the weird like hippogriff bird character is super cool, so I might just get one of those anyway. But not really use it for anything. It doesn't have a.
If I bought them, I would put them all on rounds.
I fully plan on it. Yep. I've got a tackle box full of round bases that I don't want to brag, but I have a tackle box that's probably got, I don't know, like 1,200 just extra bases.
Just rounds.
It's so many, dude. It's ridiculous. I don't know why I have so many, but I do. So yes, I would put them on round bases and find a use for them. But so that stuff's finally coming out. We've got next week pre-order for a whole bunch of kill team stuff finally, which again is all usable in Warhammer 40k. So it's really kind of a intermediate release for them.
Do you think they pushed any of it up because of the leak?
Maybe.
I
don't know. I mean, I feel like
I guess it was ready to go.
They pushed
probably
a lot of it back for some reason. We should have had the Raveners and stuff out a lot sooner. And they're finally coming out on their own. Which, if you look at the 4 kits, there's actually some re-releases, I think, of some of the kits because they were talking about one of the Sisters of Battle kill teams being for pre-order again. I didn't realize that either because I don't think it's a new one, right? Because we had seen the new one that's in the versus set versus the Catan shard. Which, oh man, I still look at that and I still really want that. Yeah. I was hoping that when we saw the Kill Team pre-order next weekend that we were going to be getting that already. Unfortunately not.
I think it's 2 releases away, someone said.
I know. Yeah. But super cool. We do have the new updated Primarchs Deathwatch Kill Team unit, which is, I think the way that they were talking about doing that army is a little different than the others in Kill Team. Because whereas you'd build a roster for your kill team and any other army, this one you build a double roster, essentially. You build 10 guys into your roster, and then when the game starts, you pick and choose 5 of them. So you've got tactical flexibility.
Like a sideboard.
Yeah, kind of like a sideboard, but I think that's unique to this kill team army. And so it's like whoever you're fighting against, you can bring a tailored list. Because that's how the kill teams would operate, right? As they'd bring the right specialists for the job. Scout the job
and bring the right guys.
So I thought that was super cool. So that kit does come with 10 models, even though you'd only use 5 of them at a time. Super neat. It's got a lot of the same weapons and same loadouts that the Mark 9, Mark 8, whatever. The previous kill team, the smaller Marine kill team had.
That was one of the last smaller Marine releases they did.
But it's got the phase blade. It's got the heavy thunder hammers, the 2-handed ones, the shredder cannon, heavy weapon, all that. I'm pretty sure it's got all that stuff. So that's neat. And then they were versus the Necrons, which had that cool new Cryptek.
With the shield and
he's kind of spidery. He's got more like like a centipede body, which we really hadn't seen that kind of style before. He's very unique. Super cool though.
Yeah.
Here's a picture of it for you.
Yep.
For the listener.
Too bad super listeners.
Neat. Plus this a little bit of reboxing
for an AdMech one.
Which was the Servitor kill team. Plus the 5 Raveners.
The Raveners are finally on their own. Okay.
So all of that. There was Tyranid Terrain, and then they had this Neophyte Sister Warband being re-released again. The Novitiate Squad versus the Tank
Buster. Tank Busters. Okay.
Yeah, so they're the Tank Busters. I forget what they're called now, but they're essentially replacing the Tank Busters, where they had the rocket launchers.
Stick bombs and rockets.
And all that stuff. So that killed. They are called the Commandos, Orc Commandos, and then a bunch of old
Eldar, Phoenix Lord, and Avatar since they've been updated.
Old ones.
Yeah.
The old medals. They're all so funny. And then some Chaos characters. It's just a ton of stuff for next week.
It's interesting that people still will get those old ones made to order.
I feel like there's nostalgia involved. I always wanted to have this. I'm going to get it now. I don't know. I get it, but
when there's a new one, it's hard for me.
The only thing I actually ever got as a made to order, I got a Cetra the Imperishable. From Fantasy when that was made to order.
Yep.
I got the Anvil of Doom with the only character from Fantasy that actually mattered, which was the Apprentice Runesmith.
Craggy.
Yeah, Craggy, the Apprentice Runesmith.
He's the only guy who mattered.
Yep.
Only one who mattered.
I got those made to order just because I always wanted those, and I had some.
Cetra has some of the coolest lore. Yeah. It was it's funny as he's portrayed as this villain. Conqueror plague on the South Continent, whatever, and it was nope, he was kind of screwed, and he hated Nagash a lot.
Yeah,
a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. One of the more interesting characters. But speaking of old ones, what we did see a lot of this week is so much lore chatter as it pertains to some in the Mortal Realm side of Age of Sigmar and a lot on the 40k side, and it's with regards to some of these sort of cryptic things that have been dropped in with regards to an expansion to the Chaos Pantheon, but it doesn't seem like it's for no reason.
Right. So, I mean, there have been a lot of little things throughout the years that we've kind of noticed and taken, remembered and kind of stored in the back of. I've got a very file cabinet, very encyclopedic sort of knowledge of how I store things. And a lot of times it'll happen where something gets brought up and like, wait a minute, there was a thing about this like 8 years ago.
That's right.
That kind of thing will pop up. And I don't remember it, but I'll have to go look it up again. I'll know it exists, that kind of thing. Well, there were a lot of little things like that were stashed throughout the years that, I mean, it seems like maybe they're kind of paying back to. They're coming back to and finally revisiting and making it so that it wasn't just for nothing, right?
Yeah.
Like they're having some payoff. We had seen a few things, really. One of the big ones that had come up was through Grey Knights.
Yeah.
Their codex / whatever.
Their new codex had an excerpt in it that has been used in the Grey Knights Codex since like the 8th edition printing or something. And it has to do with that Terminus decree that's been known that the Grey Knights are who have access to this and what does it mean?
Yeah, some like secret weapon for something.
And people have always speculated at its meaning from the conspiratorial to like practical, but a lot of it wasn't rooted in much. What we knew is that whoever the Supreme Grand Master of the Grey Knights was at the time knew about it, and then possibly someone who had access to the Golden Throne knew about it. And so people have always speculated, is this a thing that shuts down the throne? Is this a thing that kills the emperor? Is this a thing that brings him to life? Or is it an emergency failsafe? What could it be? And what are they holding on to it for? If you're talking about a time that's urgent and it could save humanity, why isn't it being used? Or if it's about killing the emperor, like why would a faction created by him in response to the warp sort of breaching real space, like why then wouldn't it be? They've always left it sort of vague when they've talked about it, and in this codex, from the sounds of it, they dripped in a little bit more information about its intent. It sounds like this was actually made by the emperor himself as a means to ensure the Grey Knights would have the authority to keep him imprisoned if for any reason he were killed or the throne were destroyed or something, to prevent whatever that would result in if he's freed.
Mm-hmm.
So he needs to stay in this perpetual state of like barely alive.
So it was the Emperor's plan for him to be this?
It sounds like...
Because it prevents him from impacting the galaxy more. It prevents him from becoming something else.
Yeah, some people have... That's where the theories abound, is what would he want this in place for? And so there's always been speculation that he's like... that he either at one time was a deity of order or a deity of chaos with the whole Dark King thing that broke out in the Siege of Terra, or whatever the case, he doesn't want to return to that form because it might mean something horrific or total annihilation. So he wants to remain in prison. He made some bargain to be what he is, and now he wants to remain imprisoned this way because plans didn't go according to plan.
Right.
And so keeping himself here allows him to protect humanity from chaos while whatever else. So a lot of people were upset with what this little bit was revealed in the Grey Knight Codex. I think it raised more questions,
right?
But not in a dumb way. I don't know. I think it's more fascinating.
We're going to tell you more, but it's like we're not going to answer anything with telling you more, though.
No.
Which I do like. I mean, we could absolutely not have any kind of explanation beyond. Right, because it might never happen.
Mm-mm.
Where it's like the Terminus decree never needs to be executed.
Yeah, and I always see fans divided where you have the group who are like, well, I like to keep some mystery. It makes the universe feel big.
Well, the Grey Knights don't even exist, so
the Grey Knights don't even exist according to most of the galaxy.
Yeah,
and J.R. Tolkien had a thought about that where he was asked following the success of The Hobbit and then The Lord of the Rings, where he, just like you described, he took a little nugget, a little piece of The Hobbit and expanded that into an entire trilogy of The Lord of the Rings about Gollum finding, or Bilbo finding this ring, right? And publishers and fans came back to him for years and wanted him to expand on his universe, write a follow-up to Lord of the Rings, what happens in the Fourth Age, or take this excerpt from the Silmarillion and expand it to more novels. And he started writing that stuff and then decided against it because he was like, I think sometimes the myth and the mystery keep the fantastical elements, keep that universe big.
Right.
And sometimes over-explaining it ruins it. But I've seen fans divide, and I've seen some agree with that, and then some say, we need answers. We need answers. I don't know if every prequel, sequel, and spin-off help us.
Mm-hmm.
But in the 40k universe, which just, for my money, becomes more and more rich and incredible as it goes on, we've seen two things happen recently that were more connected maybe than we anticipated. So when 8th edition started, and we followed the Gathering Storm saga, where Gilliman's reborn or woken up, and now the galaxy's changed. And they actually advanced the storyline, 2 centuries forward now?
Mm-hmm.
And then on the Warhammer 30k side, the Horus Heresy finally came to a conclusion with the Siege of Terra series. And in both of those expansions, they've had things that seem kind of connected.
Mm-hmm.
Things from the 30k universe that are setting up stuff maybe that they're progressing towards now, even if they don't get there anytime soon.
Right. Well, because there are key words that we hear, and it's like in both of them, and we've heard them for years, and it's like, what does this mean? Why are you bringing it up now? Why are we talking about this all of a sudden?
Yeah,
if there's no reason for it, why?
Yeah, if there's only 4 chaos deities, what are they referring to the eightfold path, and why are there always other names brought up of these entities that people follow? Where did the other deities across the universe come from? From Eldari to the Catan to what the hell was the Emperor?
Where do they go, if anywhere, right?
Yeah. And so some of this they're starting to tease a bit in a way that is really fascinating in a universe that's already pretty cool.
Yeah.
And fan theories usually bother me because, I don't know, maybe I just feel like we fans aren't as creative as we think, but some of them have been really interesting with regards to this. And so one of the things they talked about was you've had novels recently that explained more about the King in Yellow, this mysterious figure in 40k who's been basically at large. He's on the High Lords of Terra most wanted list, if there is one. And then the Dark King, which is something that the Emperor literally touched upon in the Siege of Terra series. And then there's a prophecy in 40k about that. Then there is this idea that the 4 other deities exist in Chaos, whereas the 4 ones that we're all familiar with, Tzeentch, Nurgle, Slaanesh, Khorne, are all outward expressions of Chaos. The other 4 might be inward, and so they're all opposed to each other. But in order for Chaos to succeed, maybe they had to suppress these other 4.
Mm-hmm.
But we've seen some aspects of, potentially, and some names.
Right.
One of the ones that keeps getting brought up is the word malice.
Right. Which malice is a word, right?
It is.
Khorne's not a word. I mean, one version of it is.
Yeah.
But like
Tzeentch is not a word.
Malice is a word, and we know what that is. Vindictive nature. You express malice. It's hatred. It's whatever. It's just a predisposition to hatred. Sometimes even inward, hating yourself.
That was what they claimed Sauron imbued the One Ring with.
Sure.
Was malice.
Yeah.
That hatred, but it's an inward fight,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how these other, if there are 4 other deities, that's kind of what these seem to be. Whereas the 4 we know are outward expressions; these are inward, and so chaos by nature is always at odds with itself,
right?
Let alone with reality.
I mean, I could absolutely see, because we were thinking about the chaos gods and the ones we know and how they, we've got an idea for what they are and what they do and what they look like, because we've got Space Marines that embody their aspects.
And demons that represent them,
yeah. And so it's like, we understand them. We know what's going on there. But what if the other ones have been around the whole time and we're not picking up that this is their embodiment, this is what they look like, this is what happens to you when you embrace them? Like, maybe we do have examples of it and we don't realize it yet. Or maybe they take some of the examples that we have and they turn it into, this has been this the whole time.
Yeah.
Like think about Night Lords. Night Lords have a very striking, and especially in 40k, a very different appearance.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like they are wild. I mean, they wear people's skin. They mutate and they get bat wings and
clawed talons for feet and
that kind of thing. It's really weird. They embody fear. They embody they like to torture. And it's like, well, in the same way that you have an internal battle, you torture yourself.
Yep.
They are an expression of whatever it is, of malice, whatever, that is all about torture and punishment and that kind of thing.
Well, it could be that they don't necessarily, these other 4 don't necessarily have direct demons or legions that represent them, because they're inward and not so outwardly expressive. And you were talking about how Conrad Kurz, the now deceased Primarch of the Night Lords, how he always had this inward loathing, inward hatred, self-defeating mindset.
Right.
And what a better way to embody if that's actually one of these chaos
100%.
Deities. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was super interesting. There was also another chaos aspect of just unraveling of plans.
Yep.
That's another one where it's like that was one of the aspects of an unknown lesser chaos god that's not really worshipped, but it was just making sure nothing went according to plan. And I mean, who if anybody, embodies that more than the Alpha Legion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they work against literally everybody.
Yeah.
They do not want anything to go right. I mean, it seems like that. They've got their own plans, and it just clashes with everyone.
Yeah.
Something like that. I mean, we have this interesting character who is Vashtor, right? That was introduced into 40k, and it's like, well, what is he? What is he from?
Yeah.
Is he embodying some other, like, is he a demon prince? Is he a greater demon of some other lesser chaos, entity?
And like many demons, he strikes bargains with people.
Right.
He struck a bargain with Abaddon in exchange for something, and we were talking about that, this like worship of machine craft, but instead of being used to build reality, to build civilizations, it's used for like the destruction of. But it's, now you have a Primarch who is seemingly undivided, who's ascended to demonhood at the hands of some chaos entity. We don't know who. But this would be, of course, Perturabo, who himself is most in tune with that kind of thing. Primarch of the Iron Warriors, and is now a demon prince, seemingly looking like part man, part machine.
But it seems like no one gave him demonhood. Like none of the four did. Something else did, right? And so it's like I think we're gonna have some payoffs here.
Yeah.
I mean, who's the other one that's at large?
Lorgar.
He's a demon prince.
Yeah.
He's Ghost Rider now. What's going on with him? Who ascended him?
Yeah.
Right? And what's his aspect? I mean, like, the Word Bearers have always been kind of one of the more interesting evil factions in my mind, because they are so like, yeah, I summon demons. Like, they're so okay with it. And it's like they don't favor any specific god.
Well, and they seem to speak of and understand the chaos powers better, even though maybe in a straight up battle of sorcery, they might not be as powerful, whether you're talking Psychers in 40k or magic users in Age of Sigmar, as maybe the Tzeentchian ones. But the Word Bearers seem to have a way greater understanding of how chaos functions, and yet they don't serve a single one of them.
Yeah.
Like, where does that come from?
Yeah, I could absolutely see some payoffs here, and then being like, hey, by the way, it's been the whole time. Like, you were wondering, because like, even if you look back at like 30k and the Horus Heresy, and like there were unquote undivided demons.
Yeah.
This word called the Ruin Storm. It's like, what is that about? The first demon that came into existence was Seamus. He wasn't a corn demon. He was just a demon.
Yeah.
What is that from? Right? You had there was like almost like Chaos Spawn looking models that they had released from Forge World that were just demons of the Ruin Storm. It's like, what is that?
Yeah.
So there are mysteries out there that I think have just been sitting for a while, and maybe you don't think about them, but they can provide some big payoffs for the questions we had surrounding some of this stuff. And I think it would be very interesting. I think expanding on that Chaos Pantheon, where it's like, hey, we thought this is all we had to deal with. Guess what? Buckle up. There's more.
Yeah.
I mean, AOS I think is on the same. It's on the same.
I think you're right.
Right,
yeah.
Because they've ascended. They confirmed ascension of the Great Horned Rat to a fifth deity, and you're like, whoa, 5. That's wild. There's only supposed to be 4. And it's like, actually, there's supposed to be 8.
Right.
They're just filling those seats now. Hash it. It's gonna be another one that's gonna be up there with them.
And think of that parallel, by the way, at 40k, where it's like, well, the Great Horned Rat and Skaven in general represent ruin.
Right.
Like, people used to associate them with Nurgle, which I think was a mistake, and that was brief.
Yep.
Because it was like, well, but plague, and it's like, Skaven aren't about the growth of life and bacteria. They dwell in and they bring about ruin.
Yeah, it's all about like filth and decay. It's not like bring about life. It's literally the destruction and the ruination. Even though there are some Skaven, the plaguey ones that do technically worship.
Yeah, and they make chemical bombs, and but like there's your like parallel, although unique, to something like the Ruin Storm, right? And then Hashut, there's your smiths, there's your worshippers of craft, binding demons to machinery, and but again, undivided otherwise. Like,
and I know in AOS maybe they're a little further along that path of developing the eighth point, whatever, the star, because they've also kind of indicated there are a couple other ones lurking, chaos, entities lurking in the shadows. One of them was referring to maybe something associated with the old Beastman Bray Shaman.
Oh, right.
Kind of aspect of like the darkness and the whatever. which was Morgar.
The Shadow Gave or whatever.
Yeah, the Shadow Gave.
Yeah.
And he worships some entity that isn't one of the 4 Chaos Gods.
Right.
And so there's another one there. They hinted at a long time ago in a teaser trailer about bringing about more chaos in the form of some kind of like a spider being, spider
Correct.
queen.
That was actually for the RIP Warcry release one year, where at a teaser event or a preview event we were at, they did a teaser video. And you heard,
there was like a spider themed warband. They were like, oh, and she's coming. She was awoken. She's lurking in the shadows. And it's like crickets. Nothing from So there's that kind of there's other aspects there, right, that they could absolutely play with
in both universes, and where they differ, I think, is fascinating too.
Mm-hmm. But maybe they won't differ by that much, right? Maybe when they come out, it's like, wait a minute, they actually do kind of embody the same similar things, but just in a different, call it a source. Well, because it's like magic is different than psychic.
Yeah, well, and if it is, and what the Hellsmiths of Hashut do would differ from what the Iron Warriors would do a little bit,
right?
But you could still have similar
demon
themes.
Engines,
and so I think that is pretty fascinating. I even saw one. Now it's interesting. There's a lot of efforts to explain like what the Emperor truly is. I don't know. The theories are wild and widespread. And it could be any of it. They might never fully explain what the Emperor is for a reason. Some of them were claiming, just in brief, and then I'll get to another thing, is like maybe at one point he was either from the same realm of origin that all the deities came from, or he might have himself been a chaos deity at one point, and then like rebelled, whether by intent or whatever, and in so doing, they've hated him ever since. And then he's had to do things like assume a mortal form, be entombed to the throne forever, or interred to the throne, so that he never goes back, so that he never becomes whatever he was again.
Because if he does die, and he's a perpetual, he gets reborn somewhere, does he have all the same memories, all the same ideas that he has right now?
Does he lose that? And right now he doesn't want to let go of that, because he knows what he's fighting. And we had talked about if Constantine's the king in yellow, and always...
Which, spoilers, by the way.
Yeah, it sounds like he is.
Couple of things to preface with that. The last book, The Siege of Terra, touches on the Shadow King, which I don't know if we were...
The Dark King,
the Dark King, what we talked about. And that's where this kind of comes from. It's like the Emperor at that time made a choice. Do I ascend to be the Dark King now?
Right.
Or do I let myself get wounded and get imprisoned and turned into the throne to suppress myself from becoming that thing that I was supposed to become?
Right.
Because kind of the idea was that Horus's path was supposed to force the Emperor to resume being the Dark King.
Yep.
And the Emperor may have flipped the script on him and was like, I got another solution. I don't become the Dark King. I get almost there, pull myself back from the edge, and then basically hamstring myself.
Yeah.
And so like that's, I think, what the real goal of the Horus heresy was. It wasn't Horus becoming whatever. Horus was a pawn, even though he thought he was a king.
Right.
And
he became immensely powerful, but he was just a pawn. And when the Emperor was like, quote, drinking from the warp and becoming the Dark King, Abaddon and Erebus arrive, and Erebus always just shows up. Yeah. We never know how he gets there, but he just shows up. And
fuck that guy.
And Abaddon stops and literally asks, like he's shocked. He says, "What is that?" Mm-hmm. And Erebus is like, "That's the Emperor." And then it's like, and he goes, "In a minute, nobody's going to be able to touch him." And Abaddon's like, "But Horus," and Erebus is like, "No, Horus, like the Dark King, the Emperor, will just blink him out of existence."
And so, then he did, by the way.
And he did anyway, with a fragment of a material that can do that, with the right, either the words of Annuncia or his psychic ability, or both, which he used. Anyway, so the Dark King thing is a whole thing unto itself, because there's that prophecy that the four would be willing to submit to this one because it would mean chaos succeeding. And they've always hated the Emperor, referred to him as anathema, but the connection between him being their opponent and yet the Dark King suggests possibly that he was at one point a part of the Chaos Pantheon or above it. Mm-hmm. We don't know. And he made some bargain to leave it and has rebelled against it since. Because consider what his objective was, where it was like, well, I want to learn this webway that the Eldar and the Old Ones used to use to travel without touching the warp. So I'm going to repair it in my basement, and then we're going to travel that way. I'm going to outlaw religion so people aren't spiritually sensitive to chaos for like 1,000 years. And then when that closes off chaos everywhere, now the universe is safe. Well, then that all fell to shit. His basement toy got destroyed, and so now the webway's fractured, chaos got in. And so he had to sit on the throne to basically block them from getting into Terra. And his plan was Magnus was supposed to eventually sit on that throne in his place. But what was the Emperor going to do once Magnus was there? And was Magnus just going to be doomed to that forever?
Right? Exactly.
We know Malkador couldn't survive the throne. He got fried to oblivion when he sat in it for a couple hours. So whatever the Emperor's plan was, he kind of keeps secret to like all but himself.
Right.
Or whatever he is. But what it seems to suggest in all of this is he insists on remaining imprisoned on the throne because whatever's going to happen if he's released is bad.
Right. And now we get back to the King in Yellow, who was another mysterious character who the theory is that he is Constantine Valdor. I mean, I think they even said it's Constantine.
Some book mentioned that by name.
Which he's a guy who's walking around the galaxy doing something. He's in tune with the Emperor's will,
or at least what it used to be.
And that's the thing, at least what it used to be.
Yeah.
Back when he started his. So maybe the Emperor's agenda has even changed. Even in that period of time, the Emperor's now not doing what he had sought out to do initially.
No.
And the King in Yellow is doing the Emperor's
possibly
the
that original will.
The OG will. And setting up a team or something.
What they know is that the King in Yellow, like, it's not just a name drop, and he doesn't appear everywhere. But when he appears, he's when they talk about what he can do combat wise, no one can touch him. When he's like practically immune to magic, and they think that he has people working for him in the employ of other big entities, like Eisenhorn, of course, with the Inquisition, has his Marine henchmen who have no other loyalty or affiliation. They're not called anything. I don't think the High Lords know of what this band is, but he's got some from the Alpha Legion, some from an Iron Hand, some from a whatever, and so some have expected that the King in Yellow has infiltrated Eisenhorn's own group with someone of his own, and some think it could be Alfarius even or Omegon.
That'd be hilarious.
Which, I mean, who better?
Right.
And if you have to remember something, the Primarchs each, while they have overlapping qualities such as physical prowess, intelligence, battle skill, crafting, they all embody some very specific aspect of the Emperor. And Alfarius is the most skilled at subterfuge, at infiltration. And
well, my only issue with that theory, because who knows, is that there was a story about Alfarius dying.
There was. That's right.
But again, who's the narrator there?
Yeah.
And who's narrating that story?
Yeah.
Are they believable? Is it tinged with bias? Right? Like, is that what he was supposed to believe? Because it was who killed him? It was Dorn, right?
Yeah.
So like, Dorn thought he killed his brother. Did he?
Yeah, and then of course there is Omegon, which so few knew about. And then, of course, the symbol of the Alpha Legion's a three-headed Hydra, and so some have speculated that.
Yeah, exactly.
So who knows? Well, some have even said, is this something that even the Emperor would know? It's like, well, I think if he embodies an aspect of the Emperor would know, but would be like the only one who knows. Because
he's not talking to many people.
Because he would have this ability like Alfarius would, right? Yeah. And so...
Are you saying there's three Emperors?
There could be three Emperors. Maybe that's his thing, is Alfarius is one of them.
Right.
And... So either way, this is all big and expansive, and I know that we're extremely summarizing a giant universe, but it's just all of this is really fascinating. And I think if they were to expand on the 8 points of the star in both game systems, you could do that without shrinking the universe. You could do that without spoiling too much. You could still leave loads of questions. You can still leave the word undivided in place because these 4 others have different meaning entirely. And I think, you were talking about in Age of Sigmar, you've read some stuff recently that hints at some of this kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, I think they are building to something. And while I don't think any major event like that's happening in AOS soon, 40k could be reaching a point where it's time for another big event. It's been since the end of 7th, start of 8th, where we did a big one,
right,
outside of our Primarch return.
That was the Maledictum, the split in the
galaxy? Was when, which is now still canon.
Yeah.
8 years later.
We were also talking about just the fact too that, like I said, with just the weirdness of the Emperor and like the grand plans of the galaxy, like it's so strange.
It is.
You've got things like the Void Dragon, who was supposedly like a powerful entity that the Emperor may or may not have battled.
Yeah.
The actual one.
Yeah.
which created the remnants of it on Mars and
Yeah.
created the cult.
Which they also speculate was that by design,
Right.
so that the men on Mars would reverse engineer and develop all this technology, and he wanted them to do that, but be loyal to it. And then he spoke to them in this weird tech shaman language that only they understood. Like, how did he know that?
And there's like the whole thing with the Men of Iron that were AI,
which then led to the decree of
creatures.
outlawing AI,
right?
right?
And then there's Necrons, which are basically the same thing now, which are AI people,
but from
a different
eons
origin.
before.
It's all weird, exactly, and like there's so many questions still.
One of the neat ones. Now, I've always hated the idea of the hive mind of the Tyranids somehow being connected to chaos. I never liked that. I liked the idea that the hive mind was truly alien. They were extragalactic. But one interesting theory I saw postulated, because there was an excerpt in one of the Tyranid codexes that said the penance of the old ones is how it described it. Now, that could have just been a line throwaway, and they were trying to make something like Prometheus, that pre-alien story, right? Where it was a bioengineered weapon. But one thing that people have suggested is if the hive mind were an entity created by the old ones as this great devourer, it could either be the term we have seen for primordial annihilator, which is something awakening as the Emperor's connection to the Golden Throne is becoming less stable, or the old ones knew about the entirety of chaos, all 8 points, and in preparation for it, made this. And when we think of what the hive mind is when it shows up and psychics have trouble communicating now. Warp entities like demons can't manifest the way they're supposed to. In fact, they even describe that the hive mind swallows them. Like, so it eats psychic energy just like it eats biomass. And if it consumes all biomass, there's nothing for chaos to inhabit. So is this a weapon of the old ones designed to actually fight
things
chaos?
Things have gone too far. Let's wipe the slate clean. That kind of thing.
And it sounds like maybe the Tyranids have been used in this way, one galaxy after another. And so now that could be, it could just be they are truly alien and just eat, or they're like Galactus where they're just a force of nature that eats. Either way, this all is really fascinating now. I used to hate a lot of fan theory stuff, but now that they've written some of this lore in a way that connects it better, I think now it's...
I do hope, though, that they don't expand Tyranids beyond that.
Nope.
It's very, very animalistic, very, like, logical.
Yep.
Right, in terms of nature.
Just eats.
I don't want there to be, end up, they pull back the curtain and there's like a Kerrigan star, craft type character who's like, I'm the mastermind. I'm the one directing him and I have an agenda.
Yeah, I don't want a truly named character for the. So like while they talk about Old One Eye or the Swarmlord, those are, from the sounds of it, they're more or less like each fleet can spawn those when certain things happen.
Right. Well, Old One Eye, I don't think even was that way. Old One Eye was like, like a big catfish in a small pond.
Yeah.
Where it was like, oh yeah, Old One Eye's been in that pond for years, and people keep catching him, and they're like, oh, there he is. There's Old One Eye. Throw him back.
Yeah, it was.
It's
there's
like
some Carnifex left over from High Fleet Behemoth or whatever.
He's just an old Carnifex.
Yeah.
He just hasn't been killed yet.
Which is super rare because, as most people know, when Tyranids invade a planet, they consume everything, including their own, and respawn.
They melt down all the biomass, including their own soldiers, and reconsume them and learn what they learned, and then produce replicants of them.
And the
later.
Swarmlord is that. The Swarmlord is like in a star system or something when the hive mind has reached a sort of peak understanding and it's poised to complete its task. The Swarmlord appears and it's this very commanding entity. But I agree with you. I don't think I want a truly named or even intelligent humanoid beastie or something at the top of it, or they reveal an old one entity. I hope they keep that a mystery, but the idea of the hive mind being that is neat.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they were created with one directive, a very general, like a vague goal of just consume.
Yep.
And so this entity adapts and it creates new strategies basically to improve its way to consume no matter what it runs into.
Yeah, so we don't know what the most advanced versions of them in another galaxy look like.
Right.
And it could be
they could look like humans.
Well, yeah, and people people tried to like always theorize about a quote Tyranid Empire. It's like, well, they don't conquer. Like that's not what they're after. They're not after like resources and land and people that way. It's just consume. They are essentially like a controlled fire, a controlled burn to prevent something else.
Because what happens because it's an inevitable kind of thing. You're not going to destroy the Tyranids.
No.
They end up consuming everything in the galaxy eventually. and then at the end of it, they congeal into one big fleet. Everything's consumed.
And move on, yeah.
What do they do then?
Yeah.
Do they then now set their sights on other galaxies and they split up and they all send a portion of that new fleet off to another galaxy and they all go and consume those other galaxies? Because that's what they have to, right? They wouldn't just sit here in this galaxy that they've consumed.
Yeah, it describes that when they're in that space between galaxies, while there are other stars and systems between galaxies, it's largely void, right? It's just this empty space. And while some have tried to equate the Tyranids into like Cthulhu monsters, it's like, well, those were from a dimension beyond ours.
Right.
This is still
underneath a sub-dimension.
Yeah, this is in real space.
Right.
And maybe aesthetically they resemble some of that, but it describes that really these ships, which are themselves living creatures, just go to sleep in the space between and float till they get to the next biosignature. Like, so, yeah, it could be whether they all float off in one direction or they split up everywhere, and some of them don't make it.
They see a star, and it's like, well,
let's go there.
We're at the edge of the galaxy. Fly towards that next galaxy.
Yeah. Go to sleep, fly over there. Yeah. And because like the Drukhari, there was an interesting story where they accidentally woke one up because they were trying to extract material to experiment on it, and it woke up a fleet, and they're like, oh, shit. And they jump in the webway, and then the fleet shows up and attacks our galaxy.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, super fascinating stuff, though. And then, of course, there's been some updates on like Eldrad, Ulthuan, who, of course, is like the seer of everything for Eldar.
He's the black-colored craft world.
Yeah,
Ulthwey,
yeah, Eldrad Ulthuan, and he's their supreme Farseer, who has apparently been speaking recently cryptically about stuff like this, that he maybe saw this stuff. He, of course, I think was one who met the Emperor back in the day. So, so who knows? So he probably has some insight, but fascinating. I think that could really have some cool payoffs if they do it right, and they don't do too much,
right?
Little bits at a time, because we've talked about. We've long talked about the undivided demon Primarchs and what that might look like, or who is it that ascended them? Who do they serve?
Right, because that's the big question. It's like there are literally demon princes, right? Which generally is a mortal who gains the favor of an entity and is given gifts and brought up to be a demon themselves. Yeah. So like look at some of the other demon Primarchs.
Fulgrim.
When you die, when they get killed in real space, they go back to the warp.
Yep.
In the realm of chaos.
Yep.
And then they come back again. I mean, there was talks about Mortarion doing that over and over and over again. Or Angron. Going back.
Angron has multiple times, yeah.
So it's like, what actually is going on there? What happens now when Perturabo is destroyed?
Yeah. Who is the one restitching him?
Right. How does he come back?
Do the four suddenly work in a concert, or is there some other entity running him?
And so that's why I think the interesting part of the whole, the idea that there are more entities that are giving out gifts and reconstituting demons and like maybe they do have demons of their chosen thing. Maybe they don't. Maybe they only work through mortals. And so like maybe that's why whatever demon that or chaos god that does demon engines has to use machines.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't have their own demon.
Yeah.
A mortal form, they have to possess equipment and like electronics.
And who is responsible for sending Vashdor to where now they know at least the four come to him when they need something that's an engine?
It's
like,
weird.
How does he wield that power? Who gave that to him? So it is really fascinating. And that could even be why someone who is a vessel of their ambition, like Abaddon, isn't devoted to any one of them. And he rejects demonhood and yet is empowered by chaos in general.
Yeah.
Or how Horus was.
Weird. It's super weird. And like I said, there's more there going on than I think we have a payoff for yet. And like I'm excited to see any of that payoff. I think
this was very different as we dove deep into lore and didn't talk as much about releases, but
thanks for joining. We hope you enjoyed. Follow us for more of our weekly episodes on YouTube Podcasts, Spotify, and Podbean. You can follow myself and Llama on Instagram. We are at Llama Paints Minis and Hyena Paints Minis. Music provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. And as always, we'll catch you next time.